Good morning, everyone. Welcome to American Scousers Morning Coffee or Tea with American Scouser on a Wednesday morning. I'm back to being the world's greatest dad and needed the strongest coffee possible. Did not sleep as much, so this is going to be a rough day over here. John is with us, back in action. What's happening?
Yeah, I thought I was going to lose the injury prone label. I was really hoping that that label would have gone, but listen, last 2 weeks have been kind of hell for me in terms of work, but I'm glad to be here, glad to be back. Wish it was in better circumstances though, after everything that happened over the last few days. Like, I know this is like my first appearance after the longest time, but yeah, still, it still sucks, to put it blunt, to put it in a way. And I'm still feeling what a lot of us are feeling. Obviously, I did some of the shorts and some of the short clips for the last few shows, so I'm kind of seeing the vibe throughout the community, and I would just like to say I'm still feeling that. I'm still feeling more of the same as what everyone is feeling. It's actually an appropriate title, which I just noticed for the show. When is it okay to talk football again? When
Yeah.
is it? When is it gonna be? Like, when something like this just happens so quickly, so suddenly, you can't just give a straight answer to that, right, Tim? I don't think you can.
I think it's going to change from person to person too.
Right,
And I think, it's one of those where you should not judge how somebody else grieves, kind of a thing,
for sure.
because everybody's going to do it differently. So that I think that's going to change from like individual to individual. I mean, we get a few of the headlines because obviously the game is coming up this weekend now. That is back on. So we'll talk about that because I honestly think part of that could be. I'm sure there's a lot of club and financial things and all that kind of stuff happening in the background as well. But I also think there has to be something to the players and what they feel, and they want to get back to normalcy as much as possible and stuff like that. So I know it's a cliche, but it's like, that's what Diogo would want it or something like that.
Right.
I don't know what their mindsets would be, but yeah, we didn't get to so he says, I think when the club starts footy business again, that's when fans can publicly talk about footy again. I mean, shit, I was hearing it this weekend, people talking about, like, but I don't know how, because I couldn't get we've been meaning to record the Rival Bro show with my brother since, well, last Thursday. It was originally supposed to be last Thursday when we were going to record it for the new, like, EPL Across the Pond channel. And obviously we rescheduled on Thursday. I was like, well, that's impossible. We were gonna do it over the weekend. Nah, not really. So we're like, we'll do it Monday. And honestly, like
It's
middle of the day, it was supposed to be middle of the day Monday. And I was like, dude, I'm not ready to
it's
really
actually,
sit down and talk about
yeah,
who's
the
gonna play
suddenness
where.
of everything. Like, I actually, so, because obviously the last 2 weeks I haven't been around, so I was thinking like of doing like a redditorial maybe to sort of get myself back into the flow of things on the weekend. Ironically enough, before the news, I was planning on doing a redditorial as to make the case as to why Diogo can still be a critical player for us next year. And if we're looking past the tragedy from a football perspective, even with some of the new additions and everything like that, when with the sparkling new signings and everything, he would have still been such a critical player for us next year in terms of what he would bring. And it's just really devastating to know that I was planning to just give this sort of reason why, yeah, Diogo is still that guy. He can still, like, last year was rough, but knowing his track record, he probably could have bounced back and have been a critical player for us. But then, everything happened, and it's not unfortunate. It's just unbelievable. I think in
Yeah.
Cristiano Ronaldo's post, he said, like, it doesn't make sense. It still doesn't make sense to me right now.
Well, none of this makes sense.
Yeah.
Really. Hey, Isco is with us. Good morning, Isco. That's the thing. I think even when we do go back and start talking about football,
Yes.
I'm assuming it'll be here and there initially, because like Sir Z says, life does move on. And I think honestly, like everybody's different. Like, we talked a lot about like personal experiences on like Monday, and I talked a lot about it in terms of, like, I just wanted to get back to regular things, as because that was the fastest way to kind of like, it's kind of running away from it in some ways. Now looking back at it, maybe not facing it as much, but that's whatever works for you right there, right then. Especially, and these guys are like basically, I don't know, like 2, 3 years older than I was. So they're like young people for the most part. I know some of them are like, I mean, the older ones are like freaking like 31, 32 and stuff like that. So they're going to, it's just, it depends on like how each individual approaches the best way for them to deal with it. And I would assume, and this is just an assumption on my part, that for most of them, it would be getting back on the pitch. And
Yep.
they're probably almost happy. I know Mo was like saying, and that's more about like how awkward and bad it would feel to go back to Liverpool. But in some ways, I'm sure they kind of want to be together, kind of like heal through it faster.
Right. And it's sort of like the extension when, whether you've experienced it or whether you've heard other people experience it, where if they lose someone that matters to them, they just want to bury their head either with work or
Yeah.
something just to keep everything, sort of in perspective, and like their focus just purely on one thing, as to not let the intrusive thoughts come in, if that makes sense, around what happened to Diogo and his brother and everything. So it does make sense. Um, it's Isco, I think it might be a little too early, at least in my opinion, for updates for Liverpool forwards. Personally,
Yeah.
uh, I think Matoush nailed it in one of the shorts that I clipped over, where when that new forward comes in, it's gonna hit hard and it's gonna sting, because we know that said forward is probably who we got replacing Diogo, if that makes sense. And I don't know if I'm ready to accept that now, because listen, Liverpool is a storied club. Liverpool has had players who's at the highest level, has given us titles, right? And some of them are of a certain age where they've already passed on. But it's different when,
Yeah.
especially since this is a guy who we were just watching last year, right? Part of a title team. It's different when it's someone that you've been watching day in, day out. And I know it's been a few days, and like Tim said, everyone gets over it in their own schedule. But for me, I'm still in the process. So if you guys can forgive me for saying that that's a little too soon, just please just give me this. All right.
Yeah, I
Like,
mean, I think
yeah,
because that's going to be the issue. Like, even
yeah,
when we go back to talking about football, everything is going to come back around to it. I mean,
yeah,
this is going to be kind of like, that hole is going to be there for a while, one way or
yeah.
the other, right? I mean, it was, we had talked about it. I was very keen on him having coming back. I thought, like he was going to be very effective this year too, because I think he could have played in any system and stuff. So I
Mhm.
was looking forward to having him back. I didn't want that many changes. We've talked about it over here, for example. So it's difficult because every conversation we get into moving forward, even if it is football, it always is going to, you're going to see it out the window as you go by, like the Diogo Jota concept is going to be there, either because we're talking about the front line, we're talking about somebody dropping, whatever it is, somebody coming off the bench, whatever we talk about, you can always find a parallel to like a Jota conversation. So it is going to be there for probably a while. I would think over time it will get easier. It just, it's a matter of how people help each other through it. I think too, like we talked a lot about over the last few days, how like the Discord channel really helped everybody kind of go through it. And I think it's the same thing for players, probably, is playing together, practicing together, whatever it might be, being in meetings together and stuff like that will kind of help ease that process. Because I think what it becomes after a while is, when you're solo, I think it's a lot harder to kind of like process it, and you're like alone with your thoughts, if you will. Whereas if you're in a group, it just becomes more of a like a funny story about him, and like, oh, like he would say this now and stuff like that. And even though the grief and loss is there, it becomes a bit more easier to cope because you're sharing it. It's almost like the entire room is sharing it, and it's not like just on your shoulders.
Yeah, for sure. And that comes with anything, like not just grief as well. Like if you're dealing with something that's not necessarily grief, something that whether you had a bad day or something, it's better to have someone by your side to just vent. Like
Yeah,
you don't necessarily need them to give you all the answers. Sometimes you just need folks to listen,
yeah,
right? And letting it out, sort of, uh, it helps a lot. Like recently, I was raised in a very sort of traditional household where um, men are men, if that makes sense.
yeah,
And I've learned over my life that keeping your emotions in isn't the best thing to do. So gradually, I've sort of learned over the last, like there are still some times where that upbringing sort of clicks in where I'm like, listen, I just got to deal with this. But sometimes there are points where you can't deal with this, or there are points where
yeah,
letting it out might be better than you just soldiering on, if that makes sense. Like in this case, these players, with what they're going through, and with everything being massively high stakes in their places of work and everything like that, I hope they find sort of the wisdom to sort of determine the right times to either soldier on or to let it out, because either one, whatever, it's dependent on the person,
yeah.
but whichever helps them more to get, not to get over, but to be more at peace with Diogo's passing. Hopefully they find a way to sort of,
Yeah, see, like you're lucky because you're younger and
yeah,
you're like, it's a bit easier to make that change because I know what you mean in terms of like, it's a bit too late in the game for me for that sense. I
yeah,
think to be able to change that because I know exactly what you mean. I mean, I think, and it's, I don't even know. I know, is that like a cultural thing? And I hate to be like, um, like mean to be like sexist or anything like that. I don't know if it's like a culture thing. I don't know if it's like a family thing or whatever it is, but you kind of like, as a dude, you feel like, you carry the loads, damn it. So you don't like,
mm,
just because it's a bit too heavy, you don't just take it and say, hey, why don't you carry a little bit of this to the rest of the family and stuff? You kind of like take the burden. So yeah, you're doing it the right way, definitely. So that's kind of like a harder adjustment to make as you get to become an old fart. But I think, yeah, if you do that change younger, it's probably a lot better for your like overall mental health and stuff like that, and like kind of share the pressure. And I think, that's why the funny thing is, probably our Discord and overall is probably like the average age is, you're probably one of the younger guys still for the most part, you and Matush and stuff like that.
yeah,
So I think that's probably the case for most of us, that we're more old school and we carry that,
right,
like we try to carry that burden more, and we need spaces like, honestly, this, but more like, like the Discord and the chats we have and stuff like that. Because I was talking about this on Monday. Like we get each other, and like people like that would like they get each other, even though like it might be through humor, it might be through somebody else, but there is a way to kind of like get that off your shoulders and share the grief and stuff like that, and not carry the whole darn thing. Godfrey, good morning, man. How's it going? Bickler's in the house. Nobody ever gets to give me shit about going sleeveless on air again.
listen, man, I wanted to put on a shirt, but then at the same time, it's just mercilessly hot where I am right now. So if you guys can just cut me some slack.
I think it is everywhere, to be fair.
Right.
Even like yesterday, it like rained a little bit. So after the rain was done, I was like, I'm gonna go out. Evening, it's gonna be nice. It was just like, it was like a jungle, literally, in the
Yeah.
garden. I
Jeez.
was like, okay, yeah, I guess I'm not going out there.
So clear me up. Clear something up for me, Tim. Before we move on. I'm seeing these posts on social media regarding people saying like in England right now, it's what is it? Or rather, at the time I saw the post, it was 28 degrees Celsius, I think, 27 degrees Celsius. And people there were saying it's blazing hot. And then Americans, like people from our across the pond, are going like 28 degrees Celsius. That's nothing. That's just regular temperature here. But they're saying in England it's different. So you lived in England, if I'm not mistaken, right? You told me there was a time that you lived in the UK. Is
Yeah.
it really is the heat really different once the summer hits? Because I've never been to England. Obviously, it's a goal of mine. Because at 28 degrees Celsius, like I would say, or 27 degrees Celsius, that's probably a tolerable temperature here where we're at. Because I still
That
view things
would be considered a nice day, right? It says
right.
82 Fahrenheit. That would be
Right.
considered a
I
nice.
still look at the temperatures in Celsius because where I came from, we did the measurements in Celsius, and it's much easier. Like literally, freezing point is 0 degrees. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, I was just curious. And Alan, I think, answer Z, it's drier heat in England. I guess that makes sense. I just wanted to hear it from people who've actually lived in England to explain, because obviously
Yeah,
there's a lot
I
of
think that's different though, right? Like
right.
I feel like, it's like what you are used to. I didn't think, even when people in England thought it was sad, I was like, it's not that bad. But I mean, I'm first of all, I don't deal well with heat. I don't deal well with cold either, so I don't deal well with a lot of things. But like so 70s is my ideal probably. So when it goes over 80, that's when I start complaining. But yeah, like 28 would be a warm day. I mean, especially over there. I mean, I think that heat thing changes from person to person because
Right.
what you grow up with is a big difference. I remember we had this young lady Rakaya, and like who was from Nigeria, like working with me, and she actually worked with me in Chicago and then over here in Bolingbrook. And that girl will be like, I'm cold. I'm like, are you freaking serious? It's like 75, like, because like, but you're used to makes like, she was like, I'm cold. I'm like, are you like, you go out there on the summer nights, like she's in the yard or something like at the garden house or something, and like she's wearing a jacket. I'm like, dude, why are you wearing a jacket? It's like freaking warm out here. She's like, it's cold, Tim. And so I think it's more used to. The funny thing, at least it'll distract us, but I'll tell you this story. When I first came here as a student, so that was my junior year. So I'm in the dorms, right? So like I'm going around just meeting people. I always came in late using my passport as an excuse. Sometimes it was an excuse, but usually it was me kind of like trying to skip the double practices during camp and shit. But anyway, so like I would come in. So I come in like I'm like going around like meeting these two dudes. There's like this room of 4 across from my room, like these 4 American dudes. And they're like, hey, how's it going and stuff like that. And then, like I'm just asking about, like I was in Rockford, which is, like west of here. So it's still Midwest, right, Chicago weather. And they're like, dude, it gets really cold over here. And I'm like, yeah, I heard like it gets cold and stuff. He's like, yeah, it'll be in like the negatives. And I was like, I've seen negatives. I mean, like Istanbul occasionally will get like negatives and stuff like that. I'm like, I've seen negatives. So I go back to my room and I'm like, I wonder if these fuckers were talking Celsius or Fahrenheit when they said negative.
Listen, if it's negative Fahrenheit, I think the next ice age is about to happen. If it was negative,
dude, I think so. Negative Fahrenheit. So like, I mean, it does become like negative over here, like so like with wind chill and shit like that. So I put that in there, and it comes up as like negative 20, negative 25 Celsius and shit, and I'm like, wait, what? So I go back and I was like, hey, when you guys said negative, you mean like Celsius, right? And they're like, what's Celsius? I was like, oh my gosh, fuck. I'm going to freeze my ass off over here. And
so they meant Fahrenheit. Jesus.
Yeah, like, I mean, with the wind chill and stuff, I mean, I'm sure in New York and stuff too. I don't know, like we get the wind chill a lot worse over here in Chicago, obviously. But...
Coldest I've experienced here I'm not upstate. I'm like bordering the upstate border. It's probably negative 15 Celsius. I don't know what that is in Fahrenheit. Again, I still measure shit in Celsius, man. It's
negative 15 is basically almost like 0.
Almost 0.
Yeah.
So not even
5. Sorry.
Well, not even close to what they were saying though. That negative Fahrenheit.
Oh, yeah, it does. There'll be days where like with wind chill and stuff like that, it can get pretty rough over here. But,
listen, I prefer the cold, but then not that much cold.
Yeah, I mean that was the thing about England. I thought, that they're sense. Not ready for like there's no like central air and stuff like that. So when it's freaking hot, it's freaking hot. There's no way to escape. Aside from that, the rain is and I never thought that would be something that would get to me. But the rain over there, it does get old. I have to say, like I didn't think it would affect me. Shit, I live in Chicago now, but still, like when it's gray, like all the time, it does get old when you're not used to it. It does get old. You're like, God damn it! Like every morning you open up the curtains and it's like gray, gray, gray. It does get old. But I will tell you this: I've never seen people. And I always considered. I've talked about this before. I think like British people, at least when I was over there, unless they've changed, they were like extremely nice and polite and stuff like that. Polite to a fault, if you will, at certain times. But when the sun came out, those people came out like they were like 5 times nicer and happier and stuff too, because they really value the
Really?
like the sunshine. Yeah, especially like I like to say I was in London for like 2 years.
Jeez.
So I remember. Yeah,
It gets
Matthias
it
is
gets
inviting you over to come visit us during winter because you won't be
Hey.
bringing that sleeveless. That's for
Oh,
sure.
for sure. Oh, but hey, you guys are crossing over to the tri-state area this August, so I'm excited to hopefully drop by.
Yes, will you meet us there?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I was gonna ask you once the show comes out, when's a good time to come in? Probably before the game. I'll drop in, or
Probably
maybe
anytime, really. We're gonna be there at Carragher. So if anybody is watching us from New York, and
yeah.
if you want to come and visit us, shoot us a message. We'll set up a chair for you to sit with us for a little bit. Maybe occasionally, wake up Paul so he doesn't pass out and stuff like
Listen,
that.
I was thinking like, should I come in like before the game starts because these guys are probably gonna be half asleep at that point.
Oh
Like,
yeah, you should make like an evening stop or something like that on Saturday because by the time we get to Bill says it's not hot enough in England for long enough. Yeah, I mean that's the thing. And I remember like when I was there was like a huge, well, by London standards, a huge snowstorm. I think they got like 2 inches or something. Life stopped. And I remember the mayor coming out and be like, we're not gonna get plows just because it snows once a decade over here, kind of a thing. Because they were like, nobody can get anywhere. It was like we're not gonna get plows. When are we gonna ever use them again? So I remember that. Yeah, it's like a weird weather. I think it's like from what I know, I've never been, and it's one of the bucket list destinations to go to is the Seattle area, Seattle, Portland, and stuff. But
oh, my parents are gonna
it's
be
similar
going there this
weather-wise.
October for the trails.
Oh yes, that's
Yeah,
right. Yeah, it's supposed to
yeah.
be like really, really nice. So
Mhm.
would want to hit that over there. Let's see what else. I know there was a lot of comments. I know we're talking about weather and stuff like that,
Hey,
but
listen,
it's
listen.
anything to distract us is
Yeah, yeah.
what I mean. Anything to distract us is going to be.
Listen,
Why do they call Chicago the Windy City? I know
I mean,
there's a
after
story to
everything we
that.
just talked about, Ozan, I think you could listen. A wind chill that gives you like negative Fahrenheit, I think explains it all, my friend. Like, my God.
There is a story to it, and I knew the story, but now I forget. Somebody has to be able to tell me. But once you go downtown,
Let's do this because
it's just because of the politics.
let's not get into
But
politics. I need a few drinks before we can get into politics, please. I need.
yeah, like if you go to Chicago on a cold day in winter and walk up a couple of blocks, you'll know exactly why the hell they call it Windy City. Because yeah, the wind chill, wind chill in Chicago is pretty freaking brutal. I
It's
never
funny as
understood
well.
beans for breakfast, man.
It's funny as well because you mentioned a while ago that in England when it gets hotter, the population becomes more polite, which is great. Like, my God, in Manhattan when things got really hot, the people got nastier. Like, the baseline is already freaking nasty, and it just got tenfold. I could be walking by a guy and then he gives me an absolute death stare when I observe personal space, right? I just pass by him and some dude just gives me a death stare. I'm just like, jeez, it's crazy right now.
So maybe this is what it is. Yeah, I thought there was a different story, but they flip flop so much in the early 1990s, they swirl like wind in their beliefs. Yeah,
Really?
I thought I had heard a different story. I can't remember what the hell it was, but
I learned something new today. That is cool.
people in New York City, see, I don't know what this is like. I
I-
didn't
I'm-
experience it. I did not experience it when
Do you
I
think
was
I'm
over
rude,
there.
Tim?
What?
Do you think I'm rude?
I don't want to put you on the spot on air, but you are something. That's for sure. Rude is not the first word that comes to mind. But,
To be
but
fair,
I
I'm
think
not
that's
from
kind
New York
of like
City.
that's how it is in Chicago too, though. Like I feel like when you go to a big city, like I remember, I mean, I'm notoriously like Mateusz and I am not considered Chicagoans because we're always like in the outer suburbs over here. But I remember, like living in the suburbs, like I would go downtown for like when I was working at Menards, like courts and stuff like that, like for depositions and all that kind of stuff. Like you would go representing Menards or whatever, and you go to some of these buildings and you look around. Like sometimes, like you sit there, like how they used to have like. Well, you won't remember. They used to have music videos back in the day, John. I don't know if
I grew up in. I was a '90s kid. I remember MTV.
But like they would do music videos when like one person is still and everything else is moving around really fast. Yeah. That's what it feels like. Like you would sit there and I was like, dude, there is no way everybody's in a hurry. Like there's no way everybody's late. Why are you guys all running? Kind of a thing. But I think that's basically literally life moves a lot faster now. You understand that if you travel and go to a small town, like the speed of life literally is different from one to another.
Even if I so in upstate New York, which we visit a lot as a family, and which I visit a lot with some friends as well, it's just an absolutely different. The people are nicer, they're more.
Where?
If you go higher in New York,
higher, okay,
like the Albany, Syracuse. I actually visited a town near Syracuse called Liverpool. Beautiful suburb. And if it wasn't, and listen, if I was planning when I plan to move out, it's actually in my list. The issue is just finding a job that's near there, but it's beautiful. Housing isn't too expensive. People are polite. Listen, it's just
you gotta work remote. That's what you gotta do.
You gotta work remote, exactly. But then they're getting away. They're taking away remote slowly but surely. Yonkers, Ozan, is like the border of. It's technically still within the city limits, and it's just a few minutes from where I live. What I'm talking about is like 2 hours from where I'm at. So essentially 3 hours from New York City proper, and that is what's considered upstate New York. Like I just got surprised how massive New York is. When putting everything into perspective.
When I saw that, I thought he put Yankers like I mean, this eyesight tested, or it's just the nerves overall. Yeah. But lost in Yonkers. Literally, when corner of my eye, I thought that just said like Yankers, and I was like, here we go again. But yeah, man. So this is probably what's gonna be for a while, right? It's just gonna be miscellaneous, anything but.
I'm all for it.
Yeah, I think
I'm all for it.
So when do you think? And this is going to be different for everybody, but when do you think you'll be like? There's a game this weekend. Will that kind of?
It will
start turning your dial.
Yeah, it will set me straight. This game, especially, it's gonna just slap me back into reality. I feel where it's gonna be like, oh right, like the Reds are gonna be playing in a month, like serious football.
Yeah.
So we gotta observe how, new sign is going to come in, because listen, as much as unfortunate as the last few days are, there's still a lot to look forward to next season, and we're not done. I would think, if we're going by the rumors of Diaz possibly leaving, there's the potential of more upheaval, which I don't know. Like I know you give me a lot of shit because of Diaz and stuff like that, but him leaving, I think, is going to be a disaster.
What?
No, listen.
Turntables.
No, listen. I've been clarifying it over every time that I don't dislike.
Oh, you can try, buddy. You can try.
No, but then in all seriousness, though, with everything that happened, with Diogo gone and everything like that, we do need as much continuity as we could, and Diaz is part of that continuity. We can't have Mo and Gakpo to be our only continuing forwards from last year. I don't think that's ideal, right? Like, okay, we're shifting to football now, right? What everyone asks.
Look at you.
Yeah, we're shifting to football. Yeah. You mentioned the game on Sunday, and everything just shifted gear in my head. But yeah,
I think that's what it will be, because I think for me, when I heard that it is back on kind of a thing, I'm like, oh, that might be something that will kind of bring me a bit more back to football. I mean, I see the headlines, and I know, like, Arsenal is doing this and Chelsea is doing that and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I just can't. It's weird because I can't be bothered with it right now. It's almost like you reading the manual of the microphone you got. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you just like look at it, you're like, it's just so much. Like, it's just like, it's not worth it. I'm not
literally. It's what I said. I was like, nah, this is too much. I just gotta plug this in. And then, like, before the show started, you were like, what is that light? I was like, what is this light? Like, and, and I was like, how do I turn this off? And I was like, oh shit, it's probably in the manual.
Yeah, you can't tell now because we fixed it. Well, we fixed it where it's underneath the camera, but it literally looked like he was using like it was a dual, like microphone one end, flashlight on the other, or something like that. It looked like. I think it's nice if it's like upright. It probably like if you have a paper or something underneath, you can probably read even if the room is dark or something. I don't know. That's what the purpose of it is. But I was like, dude, what is that light? He's like, yo, I don't know. He's like looking around.
Like, I don't, and in my head, I
But
was
to
like,
be fair, I'm not gonna rip on you because that's what I really do with manuals too. And then like 20 minutes into it, you're like, okay, damn it, where is this in the manual? So that you can kind of go back and look. So, I mean, thanks to, I guess the good thing is there's no manual with it, so I gotta go online and like find the manual and all that kind of stuff. But Bickler has contributed some equipment to the ordeal when we're going to be there live. So we're going to have all the needed professional equipment to do live, because we were hoping eventually we go to different locations and stuff too. And yeah, I have this beast sitting right in front of me now. I was playing around with a bit of different over the weekend, but I was like,
I was wondering, what were the arrangements that you made with characters? So you guys are renting the spot?
No. I mean, they're basically hosting us. I mean, it is for it's for the Jamie Carragher Foundation. So they were like an hourly sponsor last year. Actually, like like Mike came on. So it's the same thing. They're basically like hosting us overnight over there. We just didn't know how the logistics would work, if they would be able to like legally and all that kind of stuff too, if they had the space for us and all that kind of stuff. So he has made like a nice little spot for us to be able to record, because obviously the second day it's going to be match day, so they're going to be they're going to do like a special area for us where we can sit throughout from noon. Well, ends up I think being 1 o'clock Eastern, but 1 o'clock Eastern to 1 o'clock Eastern from Saturday to Sunday. So
I'm probably going to visit twice. First, when you guys are still functioning and still conscious. Second, when it's the match. Listen, I haven't been to Carragher's in forever, because it's one of the Liverpool bars that gets filled up immediately, and you'd have to line up. So I go to a different place. So it's been a while. Sorry, no, I go to Grafton in Union Square.
Oh, okay,
yeah.
Because I think the official one is the one on 11th Street or something.
Yeah,
like
11th
that,
Street
right?
for the OLSC New York, I believe. But I go to Grafton. Yeah.
Yeah, Ozan says Kara actually sent it. I mean, he didn't send it to me personally, I guess, but yeah, he did send
as
it
much as
Timuchin
would love that.
Yeah, I am going to get one hopefully for the podcast as well. The funny thing is, like I was looking at last year's where he said, like good luck to our 24-hour podcast. And it was like, it's like a unique idea. I might take that to some of the podcasts I go to. And I was even joking about it, saying like, what the heck is it going to take from us? But then they did it, but they could only muster like a 12-hour thing or something.
Right.
Like that.
I literally saw a week after, like Redmen TV did like an 18-hour or 12-hour. I was like, nah.
This 12-hour, they took turns and stuff.
Yeah,
that it doesn't work like that. 3 guys, 24 hours straight. That's the challenge. We were actually talking about this because if they couldn't host us overnight, we were like, hey, maybe we'll relocate, like go to the hotel or something like that.
I'm pretty sure
that doesn't count if we take a break of like an hour or 2 hours.
I'm pretty sure they got some espresso shots over there, so you guys are
they better have something. Slackers is right. Yeah, like taking turns. You do 3 hours, I do 3 hours. That's bullshit. The funny thing is, when I tell people that our channel is doing a 24-hour thing, everybody assumes that we're not idiots and actually taking turns.
They see idiocy. They see idiocy. I see dedication. Listen, there are two ways. There is a fine line between foolishness and bravery, and I would say this is bravery, right? Like,
get him on the Red Bull vodka. I don't know. Honestly, last year I really underestimated it. So I definitely I definitely underestimated. I'll be honest. When I came up with the idea, I was like, I mean, I stay up late and play games anyway, right? I'm up till like 2-3. So I'm like, I mean, what's the difference? I'm up till 2-3 anyway. So I'll stick around, like 2-3 more hours. Then the game starts, it'll be a breeze. It'll be cake. Yeah, not so much. And I've done overnighters working and stuff, but I think it's different. First of all, sitting on your butts for that long. I mean, freaking Galley got freaking like hurt from like literally sitting on his butt for 24 hours, like literally. So yeah, that was part of it. I remember like 3, 4 o'clock, man. I was kind of getting a little dizzy over there, and I was like, I don't know. This was such a great idea initially, but made it through. I think what makes it challenging is, we did have a lot of sponsors come on and stuff like that, so coordinating that at the same time and all that. But I think this will be fun. We'll be able to kind of like interact with people at the pub during the podcast. Obviously, the match day is the next day, and then hoping to go out there and shake people off of like some cash. I'm gonna send Bickler out there with like a collection plates or something like that, and then they'll be afraid and give him money. It is New York; nobody wants to get mugged, by Bickler. We'll have Bickler go with a sleeveless shirt, collecting money over there. So yeah, you definitely, yeah. If anybody's in the New York area, what is this?
Balut is like the egg embryo of a chick. Street food, popular Filipino street food. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Not a fan of it. Not a fan of it.
Won't sleep 4 days because I'd be in the bathroom, or like what is it too?
I mean, I was I would assume they would think you'd be horrified at the concept, but the way that you were just deadpan with it, you were just like, oh. I was like,
anything to ease the pain of
Listen,
desperate times, desperate measures. So wait, it's just what do you mean? It's just basically an egg then?
Yeah, it's basically an egg. Yeah, with the chick embryo, I believe, still inside. I don't know. Again, you're gonna get on my ass again for not being
every egg.
Sorry,
isn't that every egg? Biology lesson for me over here.
I feel like shit. I'm gonna have to Google because I don't. I tried my best. I'm not a fan of it. I'm not a fan of it, man. Like I the concept is just I don't like it. I don't like it at all. So I don't really learn. I didn't really learn like the nitty gritty.
I mean, these guys making it sound like this is right before the chick comes out. Like not like an egg that's Angel just cracked to make an omelet or something like that. This is more like cracking a chicken into an omelet.
So I gave in to the intrusive thoughts and Googled. And it's basically a fertilized egg that's been incubated for a period and then boiled.
Okay, so this is a halfway chick almost.
Essentially, yes. Incubated for 14 to 21 days.
And how is this going to help me apart from entertain you guys? I don't understand how this is
apparently the shock value, but the way that you were just deadpan, apparently the fact that you were just deadpan about it made me go like, yeah, he's just gonna look at, okay, I guess I'll have it.
People just want to see me throw up at the same time. I don't know how this is helping me at all. I thought it was something like a drink or something like that. That's gonna
no, it's not a drink. It's a street food, which I'm not too fond of.
And where is it available? Like,
it's not widely available in New York. I was gonna
say I've been to New York like twice.
It's not available. It's not widely available in even Filipino stores don't sell it because it's. I don't know. I'm not a government official and I'm not a lawyer, so I'm not sure how the FDA laws work in terms of food. But I have a feeling that there are going to be some violations if someone tries to sell balut here in the States. Honestly,
well, first of all, a very short shelf life, I would say.
Right, like
before it becomes a chicken kind of a deal. But Tony's in the house. What's going on, Tony? You just walked into a true shit show. We're talking about, but actually going back to what you're saying. Like we had talked about this. This is before or after you were talking smack about Diaz. I can't remember. But we actually did this poll over here.
Literally was just saying, like every time I mention Diaz, there is gaslighting going on here, folks. Like every
time. Must be done. Because we had asked the question if this is back. I mean, when is this from? A month ago.
Was a month ago. Yeah. And so thank you for everyone who voted.
85 votes said yes. And when people say no now, is it because it's kind of like too late in the game? We worried about replacements, or like why do you think that tune has changed?
Well, Diogo's passing unfortunately affects this a lot. If Diogo were still here, I would feel a bit more comfortable because of the continuity, not necessarily because Diogo can fill that left wing position, but because we have someone who's been in the club longer than Diaz. Diogo came in 2020, so he's familiar with the dynamics of the club. He's familiar with what it takes, the expectation, and stuff like that. Losing that and then losing Diaz, who's also the same, albeit he's been in the club at a less time than Jota, but he's won the league with us. He knows the expectation. He knows what it takes. I'm not saying that his replacement wouldn't be good or better than him, but at the same time, there's a reason why championship teams across every sport, they want to keep the core intact as much as possible. And say what you want about that front three. There were some times where there were goal droughts outside of Salah, stuff like that. But that is still a championship winning front three. And you'd want to keep as much of that front three as possible. So that is why Diaz is like, I think we want to try and find a way to get maybe him for 1 or maybe 2 more years, I'd say.
I think I've been fighting the Diaz fight for a long time, against people like yourself. But because I feel like he has gotten way too many criticism. I can remember at least 5 to 10 games there has been chats on Discord where we've said, especially like in the first half of a game or something like that before adjustments, that the only person creating havoc and looking dangerous was Diaz, whether when he was in the middle, when he was on the left, right, like everything was coming through him. Nobody else. It was like nobody else is doing something. The danger came through him because I think he's one of the few. And I know things are going to be different because we have different personnel now. So you do have a player like Wirtz now. You do have Frimpong, who will probably take more people on with his pace than. Trent obviously did not have that pace. Trent's skill was the passing, not like dribbling past or running past people. You have Kerkez now on the left hand side, basically the older version, younger version of the old Robertson we had and stuff. So I think it's going to be different. I get that, but you still need people who can kind of, he was one of the few players that took people on. Right. Mo does not as much, mainly due to him being covered by there's somebody right behind the left
6 people
kind of step in, but that enables the other side. You need the guy on the other side when he's isolated to be able to take people on. Dude, this is like, we have to have a show where you just talk about
listen,
foods. Like Ozan says, it all comes out. So
I don't think Dinuguan is the one of the best. It's I don't even like it. It's not even in my top 10, brother.
I have to Google what it is. Chocolate's meat. Yeah. Is it like a mole? Like in
what's a mole? Sorry.
Ooh.
Hey, look at you Google. Look at look at you Googling what a mole.
No. I know what mole is. I did Google Dinuguan. Yeah.
No. That's fine because you're not Filipino. But then
there's like a dark mole. There's a green mole. It's like a Mexican food. It's almost like a sauce. The mole one is like almost like chocolatey. It's actually like has chocolates.
It's basically blood, Dinuguan, because dugo is blood. So it's a lot of blood from.
Wait, I think we talked about this before.
Yes, we have.
There's a lot of blood. I remember when you said bloods, you just had me at bloods. Okay. Bayern will be desperate. Yes. And they already, Sane has already gone to Galatasaray and stuff like that. So
the thing is, if we're talking about desperation, like what Ozan is saying, the thing is, okay, if they really want Diaz, and Diaz wants to go, we're in the position of power here. Because they're desperate for a winger. Yes. So maybe we can charge as much as we want for Diaz. And for a guy who's 29, I think I saw this article a few days ago that Bayern are offering up to 60 to 70 for him.
Yes.
For a dude that's 29 years old. As much as, again, there's 2 sides to this. There's the continuity side, which I am leaning more towards, where Diaz has to stay to ensure that there isn't too much turnover. But then, okay, let me ask you this. What is the price you'd be willing to what's the price that would soften your stance on that? Because 70 is a lot of money, especially with Michael Edwards.
But here's my thing. I understand where people say, well, 70 to 80 million is a lot of money because he is not extending, so you're not going to get anything for him. You're going to go into the same situation. But at the same time, should we not be thinking of replacement cost? And if you are moving him for 70 to 80, if Bayern is so desperate, they are paying whatever you want, what makes you think that we're going to go out there and be able to find the replacement for a lot less or whatever?
Exactly.
There's already somebody in mind, and I know this gets a lot of criticism from like different angles, and Newcastle fans have been in our reels very protective. A lot of Liverpool fans already do not like the guy because of his Everton days and his earlier. I'll be honest, like I found him very annoying initially too, with all his diving and stuff like that. But I think he's a different player in Newcastle. Gordon is the name that kind of makes sense in terms of what he can play. He can play, like across the front three. And not only that, it helps the homegrown numbers as well. So that would make it where, you take that money, you go get that, and you kind of helped your homegrown. And maybe, I don't know if you would spend more or less than what you get for Diaz.
And he's the perfect age profile. He's 24.
Yeah.
So listen, look at me Googling. If we do get Gordon, like I see the debates whether like Anthony Gordon is not better than Luis Diaz at this point. Okay, at this point is the key word. He's 24. Diaz is 29. I would put a lot of money on Anthony Gordon by either next season or the season after that, matching or surpassing Diaz's tally last year. Granted, Diaz played out of position, right? But then at the same time, you're putting money on a player with a lot of upside. Diving, all diving considered, yeah, it sucks. But then at the same time, from a football perspective, it just makes sense 100%. But because of all the reasons that you mentioned, homegrown, can play all through front three positions. Yeah, at some point, you're going to have to let go of those negative feelings, I would say, and just be like, and listen to logic. And especially since our recruitment team is very numbers based, very logic based, they're probably going to go like, yeah, Gordon's perfect. If we're going to reinvest the money we get from Diaz and hopefully Nunez as well, I don't know. Gordon seems like the guy, right?
I mean, Trevor says if Gakpo wasn't in the picture, I'd be less apt to sell. For 70-80, I'm driving Diaz and his dad to Germany. Yeah, let's see if his dad likes the German girls. But I think it's a matter of, I go back to what you're saying and your concern about making too many changes. And like I said, any conversation is sadly going to take us back there. But you're right. Because I was keen on keeping Jota for sure. I was thinking, we would replace Nunez and probably Chiesa. I think it was Mr. Bat or somebody in the comments, or maybe it was Tony, saying that they can see Chiesa staying now. I still don't. I mean, clearly there was something wrong, right? Like we would be like, how come he's not playing? And then, he still wouldn't play, even if he did well or whatever. There's something there. And I'm not buying the fitness thing. Like I say, Slut would have me in shape in like 6 months.
There came a point where there came a point where the fitness argument was just out the window.
Yeah.
Especially when we were like, when Jota was kind of misfiring, when Diaz was misfiring, and then when Gakpo wasn't 100%. That was the perfect time to sort of introduce Chiesa, and Slot still wouldn't put him in. So there really is something there. Ozan asking all the questions.
Asking all the questions. You know the answer to that, dude. Yeah, I would be. Honestly, I am finding it harder and harder to root for the dude. I'm sorry, but I'm finding it harder and harder to root for the dude. Because in the beginning, it was like, oh, the confidence, oh, this, that's, oh, the language, blah, blah, blah. I'm really finding it hard to come up with. I don't know how people are, and I see people like commenting on our like shorts and reels and stuff like that. It's like, oh, you should be given another chance. It's like, how many chances do you freaking need? I mean, like I talked about this before. It gives me hope that if I somehow wandered onto the the training pitch, they'd be like, oh, give this Turkish guy another season. You never know and shit. And I'd be there like 3 seasons. All I gotta do is like run like a maniac, even if it's out of place.
The new cope for Darwin fans is with the best number 10 in the world. Listen to this, people. With the best number 10 in the world, we will be able to unlock Darwin. All those chances. It's not like we created a ton of chances before, right? But like all those chances that's gonna be created by Wirtz is gonna unlock Darwin.
I'm not buying that for
this is year 3 now of unlocking Darwin, by the way. And
Wirtz is not going to keep him on side. He's still going to be out.
And it's
So
not like we created a ton of chances before. Like under Klopp, we created the most chances, and we
yeah,
didn't even have a number 10. So, like,
yeah, I am not buying that at all. Can we? Yeah, Kenny said as the world's biggest Iron apologist, I'm still Darwin. Not. Yeah, there's no unlocking. Yeah, I think, like I say, it's. I'm also finding it hard, and he's one of the few people Slot has personally criticized and gone after. And most of those guys, like like Trent is no longer here. He came out. I know, like it was after the fact and stuff like that, but I mean, Nunez was not after the fact, like basically criticizing. But the funny thing is, the game that he criticized his efforts, people were still like, "Oh, he presses and stuff." The dude
yeah,
is just an he's just not a smart guy. He's just not a smart player, and I think it's not. You can't be. You know what it reminds me of? Like over here, you're a basketball guy. You can be ridiculously athletic, not
mm,
be very smart or whatever, and get away
yeah,
with high school basketball, and
right,
maybe even get away with a little bit of college and stuff like that. But you know
mm,
what? It's gonna get exposed
right.
when you're
Because
not smart enough to actually get the game, and
yeah, you can't
when
just
it's
jump
not
high.
street ball anymore.
Yeah, you can't just jump high and
Yeah,
dunk when you get to the pros. Like you gotta, there's a lot that gets, and Cersei's gonna get on my ass for like getting
I
on
set you up
basketball
for
team.
that one. Yes.
Yeah, so I'll stop now. But you make an excellent point. Yeah, Kwame Brown, perfect example. Very recent example because I'm a Warriors fan. James Wiseman, my God, the dude is hyper athletic, 7'2", can jump out of the gym, but he doesn't know where to be,
Yeah.
and he doesn't know
What do
where
you
to
mean?
be.
We've been
Like,
watching Jackson Hayes with Angie. We were watching the
oh
Lakers,
my God,
and
yeah, that
I
dude,
mean, can
like,
you have like hands of rock? And I
yeah,
was like, dude, how you're up there already? Don't come down. Just bring the ball down into the net, and it's a
I
basket.
seriously
Instead of
hope
trying to
Cersei
bring it
isn't
down and do
listening.
stuff. Yes,
I hope
that
Cersei
Thursday is
isn't
really gonna
listening.
go nuts now because we're going full blown basketball.
Yeah,
But anything but everything to avoid
yeah,
talking about the obvious. But yeah, I mean, at least we talked some football today, so there is that. I mean, talking about the game, that I mean, that was obviously the biggest news that came out, this morning, at least when I woke up. Like the headlines that I saw everywhere was the fact that the game is still going to be on. What would it's going to be like an emotional mess, I would think, for the players anyway. And I think it's
right,
almost better you can talk about it all you want, right? You can prep for something. It's like
yeah,
going to a funeral or something like that. You can kind of prep your mind, but until you're in that situation, you're actually kicking a ball and stuff like that. I still feel like, until they play, at Anfield, to go out, before kickoff to like a "You'll Never Walk Alone" and stuff like that. I just, it has to hit him a couple of times, and it will,
yeah,
before they can kind of. Everybody's like talking about like, oh, doing it for Diogo and stuff like that, and I get that, and I'm sure that will be a huge part of it. But at the same time, they still have to make that adjustment, and it will take him probably a couple of games
hmm,
to get used to the fact and grieve slowly along the way.
yeah. I think the preseason is going to help massively. I think we have, yeah, like to your point, I think we have to tailor our expectations for that first game at Anfield because it's definitely going to be me. Well, to be fair, I feel like there will be a game at Anfield to close out the preseason because there always has been, right?
Yeah.
There's just that one game, but the league game proper, right? I feel like we could cut them some slack about like for a sloppy first half or something like that. Given everything that's going on.
See, do you think so? I almost feel like would it be? I mean, it's different for every player, I guess, right?
Yeah,
But would it also be like an emotional overload, and like that
get
kind of
them
like
fired
you
up.
sometimes take it out with like aggression? I almost feel
Yeah,
like it
that
might be
that could
over the
be.
top aggression and
Yeah.
less tactical.
Yes, yes. What comes to mind is remember the week that Klopp announced he was leaving, and we had a game against Chelsea that same week. I think that was our best performance of the season, where we
Yes.
beat them 4-1, and Connor Bradley scored his first Liverpool goal, I think. And yeah, listen,
Yep. Down the
yeah,
right wing to the
right,
bottom
right.
left corner.
Diogo came up with a really good one there as well. Right. So, like, listen, it's that could likely happen as well. And knowing these players, where there's still a lot of holdovers left from the Klopp era, who ran on that emotion, that could be likely as well. So
Well, this is the schedule right here. So obviously we have this Preston game. Then I
Yeah.
think they go on the tour, right?
Mm.
And then I think the tour game is the AC Milan game and the Yokohama um, football managers. I don't know what the FM stands for. I'm sure it's not football managers. And then they're gonna do the Google thinks they're gonna play. Oh, they're doing the same. I actually they are doing this. Two games in one day, kind of a thing, which is interesting. But like 11 a.m., 2 p.m. kind of a deal. And honestly, I'm almost glad. And we're gonna do the live watch along. Obviously, I care for that one, but we are going to, the glad we're in the Community Shield because we will play a semi meaningful game prior to the Premier League, if there are still like those emotions hanging around.
I will go on record, and again, this is more of me just trying to distract from everything else. I will go on record and say that I think that the Community Shield is an actual trophy because Arsenal fans have been making it sound like it's an actual trophy over the last few years because it's the only trophy, quote unquote, that they've won. So, and I would like to believe that that season where we just won the Community Shield, that counts as a trophy. So essentially, before Klopp left, we went 3 straight seasons with at least winning one trophy. So it looks good. Right. So I hope that the guys take it seriously and that we win it.
Community Shield is something that you brag about when you win,
Yeah,
and nobody else cares about it otherwise. Like, I mean, in most years, if Liverpool is not in it, I find out like, oh shit, that's right, that game was on today, kind of a thing. I swear, like last time, like I think I can't remember who played, but City and somebody played, and I was like, oh, that's right, that was today, and I just watched the highlights and stuff like that afterwards. But in a scenario like this, I think it will be good for the team to have as many semi-serious games as possible. I mean, it will be emotional. That's why I'm kind of like glad this Preston game is coming up. No, don't even do that, man. Don't even do that. We got another
let
month.
me ask you though. Now that Kenny brought that up, were you swayed the right way by that Community Shield debut? Because obviously we had our impressions for Darwin coming in.
Oh, is that the game where Holland missed a bunch of stuff and Darwin scored or something?
Yeah,
Is that what it
yeah.
was?
Like, how much weight did you put into that for your Darwin expectations? Nothing.
No. I mean, excited. You're like, oh, this could be good. But at the time, you were like, oh, he's raw. He can really be good. Like all the talents in the world. And we were like, Klopp will use him well and stuff like that. We didn't realize it was going to be offside all the time and not know how to press and run to the wrong guy. And don't get me started, man. It's too late in the show to get me on a freaking like new.
We got 3 minutes.
Like I say, it's hard to root for a guy. It's that dude on your team that you go over the same crap over and over and over again. I used to have this kid playing left back with me in high school. It was like, bro, when I push up, you push up. God damn it. Like, you can excuse somebody for making a mistake. But when you make the same mistake over and over and over again, I mean, either you're doing it on purpose or you're just not qualified to do what you're doing.
It's really funny. It's funny that you mentioned that. And I mentioned the Chelsea 4-1 game that we won when Klopp announced he was leaving. I think Darwin hit the post with his head, with his right and his left foot, all in that same game. And he didn't score a single goal.
We always thought, right? Yeah. Oh, he was like, he's there, like, oh, he's sitting the post. These are going to start going in and wants his confidence. And then he would have that game against Newcastle when he scored 2. We're like, okay, the dam just burst. Like, there's going to be, nope, it's back to regular. So the confidence thing, I'm not buying anymore. The luck thing, I'm not buying anymore. And maybe it's in his head. I mean, I really do think he will go to Italy and he'll do really well. And I'm sure, all the Nunez fans, I don't know if there's a lot left. People love him because I've been saying this for a year now, especially this last year. People treat him like a little toddler out there. It's like
he's the Make-A-Wish candidate.
It's like Mo's daughter when she scores on the cup. They're like, oh, you pressed, like, people because they know how fragile he is, because we've seen how fragile he is on Instagram and stuff like that. So people do not get on his case, and rightfully, you're in the stadium, you're gonna back him, you're gonna support him. But at the end of the day, you got to talk to yourself, and you got to like be honest with what you see on tape, if you will, and be like, no, this is just not. This is a good question too. Marmalade as
Mamardashvili.
Mamardashvili.
Do you think he goes Allison Premier League, Giorgio Champions League?
No, I think he's basically Kelleher. He does FA Cup,
FA
League
Cup.
Cup.
Ugh,
Yeah,
you think he's too good for that though? Like
I don't
he's
know, and I honestly, I'm saying it like I don't know. We
right.
don't know. So I think that'll be a gauge. Like if you do really well, I mean, he might show up in the Champions League, and I really do think it's well. Come to think of it now, maybe you might be right. You might see him a couple of games because I think Slot saw last year that going gung ho and beating everybody's ass on Champions League is not getting you
Yeah,
far.
it doesn't matter.
Like it doesn't pay dividends.
Mhm.
So what's the point? So I think he will rotate a lot more and take chances. And so that might be a scenario where there's like a lot of games, like I don't know, like in October, November, or whatever, where he's like, you know what, yeah, we'll try to give Ali a break and stuff like that. So, but apart from that, I really don't see it on a regular basis.
Granted, we've never seen kind of how we've seen like one season, but then with Allison having like a stretch where he was injured last year again, we've never seen a stretch where Slot had, I don't know, two keepers for an entire season, two keepers that were healthy, so we don't know how he mixes it up. Like a lot of times he rotated because Allison was actually injured and he had
Yeah.
no choice but to use Keller. So it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, that's true. We probably overused them to what we thought, right?
Right. I
Yeah.
would say so.
By the way, I always forget to do this, but obviously our morning show sponsor right now is JLF Fashions. I will shoot the link because they do host our swag shop. What would you call it?
I call it merch. Like swag is a little too Gen Z for me. Like
Oh, I'm sorry. God damn kids. Yes, merch people. So
like listen, every big YouTuber, whenever they come up with a product, they always label it as merch. So I think we're on the path to being among those big YouTubers, right? Like we're getting steady growth.
are we?
So
Because everybody's gonna hit the like button and go drag somebody by the ear for us to get there. But yeah, I mean, I do actually mean that. We do. We don't do the cheap tricks, so we really rely on everybody in the chat right now to go drag somebody by the
yeah.
ear and like spread the
we
word.
don't bought our likes, people, just for FYI.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. Even our merch, obviously, I don't push it enough. But we gotta push the sponsor, if nothing else, of our morning show. So go do check it out. Tony says get with the times. Yes, I know. Pretty hard, man. You know how it is. Tony is Tony is in the latter ages as well. So yeah, Tony knows how it is. But yes, go check out the merch, people. But by the way, if you have TikTok, you have to go follow us on TikTok because let the record still show, and we will dig out the receipts that there will be a John dancing video once we hit
Listen,
1,000 followers.
this is just the Diaz situation all over again. It's just like a lot of gaslighting. First of all, you won't be able to dig that out because who does your damn shorts, my friend? I
You
do.
know what? I will put in the effort. I will watch every damn morning show on Wednesday to
My
find
God.
the clips from the Gordo days.
You
We
know
had
how
the-
ancient that was? I was still doing the Friday show regularly with you and Anan. So
Yeah, because this is like we are at 314 followers on TikTok now. So yeah, so that's why it's starting. It is starting. First, you see the arms, then he's gonna start dancing on TikTok for us. But hey, John, thanks a lot, man. This is why this is
yeah,
good
that's why I
therapy.
love the Wednesday show,
Over
man.
here.
Like
We laughed a little bit, um, talked a little bit, kind of like shared the
the
grief a little bit too. So
Wednesday show, man, is like a road trip that isn't planned. We just go wherever. You know
basically,
what?
yes,
Like it's just we go wherever, and this is why I love this show. Like obviously, it would be nice if we had Gordo or Steven on for like for a bet for more perspectives. But then at the same time, like yeah, it's been great considering like the last few days. And you guys mentioned it a ton with the shorts and during in the Discord, where in times like this, sometimes no, not sometimes. What you need is people. What you need is people you can talk to, people who you could listen to,
yeah,
and this is just me talking at a personal level. Um, don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to say that what you're feeling. If people truly care about you, they'll listen. They'll try and
yeah.
help you out. And for stuff like this, for obviously Diogo and his brother passing, I don't think there's a better community for us to be sharing how we truly feel.
Yeah.
Because like you mentioned, Tim, no one really understands it but our little community here and the Liverpool fandom. So I'm just glad to have been part of this. It's been more than 2 years now. Jeez.
Yeah.
You know, more than 2 years now. And I was like, yeah, every day I'm just like, listen, I'm glad that I'm with you guys. Not to get too cheesy, because I'm not to get you too cheesy and everything. But
No. I mean, I was saying that. I mean, honestly, like I say, I don't know what I will be doing instead 5-6 years ago.
Right.
Like
Exactly.
where to go to when something like this happens. It kind of has helped. Obviously, this helps, even if it's like gets your mind off of things and talk about facts about you bashing Diaz all these years and all that kind of stuff. So every little bit helps. But
You should make a book, man. You should make a book, man. Gaslighting 101.
Dude, actually, yes. I am the master of that. Not a master of a lot of things, but gaslighting I am. I'm proud to say it, but yes, every little bit helps, like we said. So do hit that like, do hit the subscribe if you have not. I'm sure everybody in the chat right now is probably a subscriber, but more importantly, like I say, we kind of brag about it a lot, but rely on everybody to kind of spread the word. So spread the word, grab a friend by the ear, drag their butt over here, and have him subscribe and join the community as well. You'll get a lot more bold perspectives tomorrow nights in the Thursday night podcast. With the Bald crew. So do join in there tomorrow nights, 7 o'clock Central, 8 o'clock Eastern. So do tune into that. I'm sure those guys will be able to kind of.
That's a nice nickname, Mr. Batterat. That's a nice nickname.
That's not bad. Good song too, by the way, Prodigy. Actually, that's what I listen to now as I work. I don't know what it was. We were watching some live performances or whatever on YouTube, and we saw Prodigy, and we were like, Are you familiar with Prodigy? No, too old for you. Okay, but
hey, listen, nothing's too old. Listen, most of what I listen to are pretty much from the 80s, 90s, 2000s. Still,
then how the hell do you not know Prodigy?
What genre? I'm sorry.
Probably more like rave-ish, I would say.
I'm a metal dude. I'm a metal dude.
Sorry. Yeah, I don't do metal. Yes.
I don't know if it's my friend said it doesn't show with me that I'm a metal dude, so. Would you have
today helps the sleeveless, I don't know, like stereotyping here. Yeah, see, Mr. Barron knows. See,
I'm gonna listen to them, now that you mentioned it.
Okay, Prodigy, I'm gonna listen to them right now as well as I work, because some of us have to work. But do tune in tomorrow night, people. Join the gang then. Have a great Wednesday. We'll see you guys soon. Take care. Check out the merch. Check out the link.